Hello everyone, we are back with the 7th series. We interviewed for you surf legend, world champion, surf photographers, shapers, and many more. We hope you like the series and please stay tuned for more amazing news. Mahalo. Hello everyone and welcome to the 15th episode of the 7th series of the Temple of Surf podcast. Today with us from California, legendary shaper Roger Hinds. We discuss with him about shaping surfboard, icons of foam, surf innovation, and much more. Hello, Mr. Hinds. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
Today I'm in Seal Beach, California.
Cool, fantastic. How is the weather right there? It's still like summertime, right? Almost.
No, I wish it was. It's really cold, what I consider cold, about 49 degrees, offshore winds, but there's no waves.
Okay. So unusual. I mean, should be some waves, but anyway, we cannot always get what we want, right? That's what Mick Jagger was singing about. So cool. So today we're going to talk about many things. Your amazing careers over 45 years of a career. We're going to talk about the boardroom show. We're going to talk about surfboards, and much more. But the first thing that I would like to ask you is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
The most important thing in surfing as a surfer, to have fun. To me, surfing is a feeling. When I catch a wave, I don't ride the wave thinking that somebody's watching me. I got to do this or this. I ride the wave to where I get a sense of feeling of joy when I'm surfing. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm surfing. Is the most important thing to me is the feeling of having fun.
Yeah, definitely. And is your experience, right? You don't look left and right. I mean, you should look left and right for like incoming surfers, but nevertheless, it's like you and the ocean and the surfboard, right? So
Exactly.
that's the way it should be. And what was your first proper surfboard? Like maybe something that you bought or maybe something that you shaped for yourself. Which one was the board number one?
The first board I ever owned was a Harbor Banana. I bought it from a kid who was a friend of mine where I grew up in Paramount. And that was 1965. And I paid $25 for it. And it was Harbor Banana.
And you still have it by any chance?
Oh, no, I wish I still had the first 1,000 boards I had.
I agree.
I had some beauties through my career. So
I imagine, like from 1965, I guess, there were like some legendary names shaping at that time, and the boards were available, not like today, right?
Yeah. And at that time, there was, later, like 68, when I first started fiddling around with surfboards, there was a glut of longboards because most everybody got shot off to Vietnam. And so there was just longboards everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And you could get them for nothing.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, sad story though. It's like it's being at that time. I guess in California, it was like together with Hawaii, the place to be, right? I mean, Australia then came a little bit later, but or maybe the same time. We have to ask Nat Young. What was it was those years, man. Those were magic years. And so the one that you shaped, do you remember like the number one? Like, I mean, you shaped thousands, I guess, so far, right?
Well, yeah, I've got over 33,000 shaped and glassed by me. The first ones we did were just me and a couple friends fiddling around in the backyard, taking some of these bigger boards. It's not an uncommon story from that time because if you wanted to build a surfboard, there was no blanks available to you. The blank companies at the time would only sell to the manufacturers. And there was no glass shops that you could take your glass board to get it glassed. You basically learned by trial and error. So yeah, we started stripping down a few boards and cutting them into what became the transition era style board. And they were pretty bad. We were pretty bad surfers too. So it was kind of like, you couldn't tell.
Okay, that means the level of expectation was not that high. So like you didn't know like whether to let's say it was like a fault of the surfboard or the surfer. It was still
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing how when I started messing around with surfboards, I didn't have any intention of making a career out of it. I did it out of necessity. It was easier and cheaper to buy a used longboard and strip it down. And like I said, they were plentiful. But you never realized until further down the road just how bad the boards were. Even all the way through my early career, you really don't know what you're looking at until after about 5,000 boards. I mean, people can be a craftsman if you see it and it comes out of your hands. I don't care if you make cakes for a living or if you paint or if you're a carpenter. You either have that or you don't. It's surfboards is not a learned experience. It's really hard to not have skills and then be a good craftsman. There's artisans and there's a guy with a hammer and a nail who's a framer. So so I've experienced that my whole career, trying to teach people how to glass and so on. And a lot of people just don't have that in their DNA. So and quite frankly, some of the best board builders through history in the early days came from the trades. Gordy was a artisan woodmaker, and I mean, all these guys really were craftsmen.
yeah. A lot of people at the time started like with the boat. Maybe I mean the one I interview, they were like carpenter or they were like working on boats and stuff, and then they started surfboards, and then maybe it worked. And I guess for a lot of them it didn't. Like you said, you need to have the skills, right? It's not like it's a
Yeah,
craftsmanship.
a surfboard is a one-time deal. If you're, let me think of something. If you're building a cabinet and you don't like how the cabinet looks, well, you take it apart and fix it.
Yeah.
Or if you're building a chair, if it doesn't sit flat, you fix it. A surfboard, when you're glassing it, you got one chance, and that's it. If it turns out like crap, it goes in the trash can.
Yeah, exactly. And you cannot reuse it, right? Recycle it, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like but I was talking with Jeff Timponi from Hawaii, and he was telling me, like, Alessandro, there are 53 components in making a surfboard, and each one of them is important. Each one of them makes the surfer surfing better, but you have to master all the 53. I don't know, maybe there are more, but you have to master all of those. For me, it was already a huge number. When you told me 53, I was like, okay. And, like, I mean, it's not, I mean, it's different, when you shape by hand or you do through computer, right? It totally changes, right? The level of, I mean, mistakes that the human hand can do versus the one the computer can do. But I guess is what, I mean, at least me as a surfer, is what I look for is a shape that has been created, like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a dog in that hunt. I'm not a machine guy only because I don't do the numbers. Gordon Clark told me one time years ago that we were sitting there talking about something, and he mentioned to me that when the machines are plentiful and they take over, you're going to see just a clog of surfboards, that there's not enough glass shops to glass that amount of boards. And it came to fruition, absolutely, that especially the last 3 years during the COVID, where you could build anything and put a label on it and sell it, basically. And that was the log jam. Before the machines, people would hire 5, 6, 7, 8 hand shapers, and they would shape these boards all. And so it kind of kept law and order in town. And then when for me, where the machines kind of came really heavy into play was when Clark Foam closed, and the blanks that were coming in to us that were available, they were really bad. And if you're hand shaping, it was taking a lot of time to hand shape them, and people just tapped out and said, I'm going to let the machine shape these things. And that's basically where I saw it from where I was standing was, and to me, did the machines take over? I don't care.
Right.
It doesn't affect my business model. I mean, if you're lost surfboards and you're building, I don't know how many thousands of boards those guys are building a year, but at the level they're building them, you have to shape them on a machine to get that consistency worldwide, where you have licensees all over the world, where you're not going to get that same board that Matt Biolis is shaping in another country. So the machine is a very integral part in their business model. I'm positive.
Yeah, it's okay. It makes sense, like as long there is like space for everybody, we should not be against each other. It's just like totally different business, It's like if you buy a vase, made by hand by an artisan, or you just buy something like out of pottery that is like $5 at Walmart. It's like there is different experience, different different quality. No, it's.
I used to build a fair amount of boards, well, not compared to today's standards, but 1,000 a year, and I'd have employees, and we would try to get them out. And over the years, it just became better for me just to scale it down and to do more, more by myself and less production. So I went from 200 a year. Now I'm down to 100 a year, but I do everything from start to finish, and I'm happy with that. I can sleep at night knowing that that is the best board that I could build that day, and I still have a customer draw for that product. Yeah, so that seems to work for me.
And at the beginning of the interview, I asked you what was the most important thing in surfing. What is the most important thing in shaping?
To me, I want to have more passion tomorrow than I have today. I want to be able to shape a board better tomorrow than I did today. And I think that's just been the natural evolution of my career, that I try to update things and try to bring in new life into the designs. I'll have the same model names from 15, 20 years ago, and I'll just change the design and use that model name again. I want to keep things current.
Okay.
The best I can is to have the passion to do better.
Definitely. And talking about innovations in surfboards, of course, there are like quite a lot of topics, materials. How do you see it? Surfboard and innovation is something that you look at, or is something that is like not relevant to you? I mean, not so relevant.
If it's in my wheelhouse, then I pay attention to it. I can only do so much with what I have. I'm a firm believer in EPS and epoxy, multiple layers of fiberglass. I don't get into the exotics, carbons and different weaves. I don't get into that. However, I just started up with a partnership again with SurfTech, and they're going to be producing a line of my boards with their EPS glass jobs and epoxy, and the boards are really well manufactured. I looked at them 2 years ago at the boardroom show. I was looking at Lopez's boards in their booth, and I thought, wow, these glass jobs are really good. And to me, in the year 2022, the shape job is the shape. If you give a design to somebody, they can copy it verbatim on the CNC machine. So it's at that point, it's just the glass job. And these glass jobs are really good. And for somebody who has glassed as many boards as I have, to say that, they're really good. They're very well manufactured. So I'm really excited about that launching in January or February. And so that's about as far as my exotics go. I do my polyurethane polyesters, and then I do my own EPS epoxy construction. But as far as the exotics, I don't have the time in my life for that. Enjoy the day.
Makes sense. It makes sense, definitely. And like again, there is a lot of kind of innovation. There are like material innovation. Also, there is a shape innovation. I mean, there are like quite a lot, but I think the consistency is key in your job. So I guess that's the most important thing to keep, right? So as you were saying, and yeah, so you were saying about the boardroom show. So I'm in front of a two times winner of what's it called, the shape offs,
Yeah,
right?
tons of foam. Yeah.
So Ben Ipa and Rusty Presenhover. So it was like amazing. It was like competition that you won. But I guess it's for a shaper is an amazing experience to be at the boardroom shop, right?
To me, it wasn't so much as winning as paying respects to Ben and Rusty. Rusty, I was the defending champion, so I was in on that one. But to be invited to shape for Ben, both of those were very important to me because a lot of my history came from the North Shore in the early days, and just Rusty and I are good friends, and just the respect. I think to me, just going in there, win or lose, just to go there and have a chance to show respect to the guys. That's what it was about to me.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess well, you are shipping closer to your friends, right? Because that's the people that participate to the shipping competition are like the best of the best. So are like people that you know, people that you respect, right? So it's a good place to hang out.
So this year, I got to look from the other side of the glass. Was Scott Bass reached out to me because his guy who usually runs the icons was out of the country, Tim Crozier, and he asked if I would help. And then not only did I help run that, I was the head judge for Timmy Patterson. So there was a lot on my plate this year. But to get to watch, to run that part of the show, to get the shapers in place and all the rules and everything, I think it's easier running it than it was to shaping it. Because to
Okay.
shape it, you got an hour and a half inside of a glass room that everybody's watching you, and there's nothing that deflects the lights. I wear glasses, so I'm constantly going like this to find my tools because it's all glass and all lights. And so it's quite difficult to shape in that. And my hat's off to anybody who's willing to step in that room, because basically the curtain's pulled back on your career at that point. If you're either a big deal or you're not, because people can watch you shape. And in any case, that was my take on it. But running it this year was fun, and working with Timmy and Pat Ross. And again, I worked with Pat last year when they were honoring him. And it's always good to be involved with what I call the inner circle of surfboard shapers. I mean,
Yeah.
Pat and Timmy, I mean, those guys are just wonderful humans.
Yeah, definitely. And last year it was not this year, but the year before. It was also the last one where Dick Brewer came, right? And I saw
Yeah.
some pictures, and my God, just looking at his hands, they were like how he was feeling the boards. It was just amazing. I mean, you saw it in live in person, but me, I just saw some picture, and it was just amazing. Like we lost a legend.
We did.
And do you have like a favorite shape to I mean, a favorite surfboard shape to shape among all the models?
I have a lot of respect for a lot of shapers. Anybody who's in their 60s and 70s and still pushing a planer around a surfboard for an hour and a half, 2 hours, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of physical demand on your body, your eyes, everything when you're at that age. Probably the guys I have the most respect for, the guys who made the transition through the decades. Jerry Lopez. I mean, he was a big deal in the late 60s, all the way through the 70s, all the way through the 80s, 90s. I mean, he's still a big deal right now as a shaper and a surfer. And I think he's 74.
Yeah, I think so. I think 70. Yeah, so
Yeah, guys like that really are the guys that I have the respect for, because they were able to stay with it through all those eras, and a lot of the guys didn't. A lot of the guys who were what you would consider accomplished in the '60s weren't able to continue that through.
Mm.
And if you look at Jerry's boards today, or for that matter, Randy Rarick's boards today, without a label on them, you would think, Jesus, man, these things are incredible. So that's basically where I'm looking at. That's what has inspired me through my career, is to try to just maintain that level of, I'm not so much that I care about what the public, especially with social media nowadays and everything, people seem to stand up on a soapbox for whatever reason. But I want my peers to have respect for me. At the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for, is for my peers to go, hey, man, you know what? Great job.
Yeah. I think is something important. And I think it's something that is not actually the first time I hear something like that in a different, let's say, way. When I was speaking with Corky Carroll, I was telling him about all the trophies and the victories that he had. And he said to me, like, I really don't care about all those trophies and victories. He said, the only thing I care is when I've been voted by my peers as the best surfer of the year. And
Yes.
that is the only thing that I want to keep for myself and that I care of. Of course, I won a lot, whatever, but is the judgment of my peers that rewards me better. And I think the same thing you were saying, the consideration and judgment of your peers saying, okay,
Sure. I think in the surf industry, much like many industries, the lower tier are always trying to chop your feet out from under you for whatever reason, something on social media or what have you. But
yeah.
I'm lucky I don't have those problems, probably because I'm just a small builder. But I think at the end of the day, that's what's important to me as a guy at that level, saying, good job.
And today in social media, everything is perfect. The waves are perfect. The surfers are perfect. The surfboards are perfect. There is it's like there is no space even if you want to for like mistake or error or wipeout. And I think it's a construction of the world that is not realistic, right? Because it pictures only the good part and the non-good part. I mean, not the good part, but the difficult one are not like portrayed in the right way. So I always joke with my friends, there are no bad waves in social media. So
Good. That's good.
I mean, okay. So in your life, I mean, over 45 years of career, you met a lot of surfers, of course, right? So was there a meeting with one surfer that was particularly meaningful for you?
I have a bunch of them, but the one that really pops up really quick is I was with Randy Rarick at a trade show. And we were walking through it. And if you know anything about Randy, when he walks through a trade show, you don't spend a lot of time walking. You spend a lot of time standing there while he's talking to people. But so we got out to an area, and Greg Knoll was there, and Randy introduced me to him and kind of told him what I did. And he reached out he's just a giant man. His hand was like giant. And he shook my hand. He goes, I can't replicate his voice, but he goes, I admire anybody who will stand ass deep in foam to shape surfboards like you do.
Wow.
So and that was a pretty big deal.
Huge recognition.
I remember that. I've had a few. I've been very fortunate in my life to have some very profound moments. And yeah, it's been good.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I had the opportunity to talk with Greg Knoll back in 2020. Yeah, it was 2020. It was just amazing. Amazing. He was a very fun man as well, He was I never met him in person, but I guess, you described me this giant with giant hands, but also a big heart, I guess, right?
Bigger than life, and always polite, always very unassuming.
And he told me I asked him in the interview, if he was considering himself like a legend, and he told me, Alessandro, if you say so. And I was like, oh, I was like, because he told me, like, at that time, we were just like a bunch of guys eating peanut butter sandwiches and just going for the waves. We didn't care about like more than just that. And becoming a legend, I don't think was in the book, you know.
That word gets passed around pretty easily. I think that should probably be reserved for people who have passed.
I don't know. There are like, for instance, Jerry Lopez is a living legend, right? If you talk about him, right? So Ben Ipa or Dick Brewer, even if they passed now, they were still legendary shaper and surfers, right? I mean, I know what you mean. When you passed, it's
yeah, that word gets passed around pretty easy on social media. It's pretty.
yeah, of course. What to do? Are you working on something very specific nowadays? Some new projects or business as usual?
No, as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a partnership with Surf Tech because I only build 100 boards a year. So Surf Tech is able to build my models in EPS, epoxy construction, and so that would help with sales worldwide that I can't reach. I can only build so many boards. So I think it's a pretty solid partnership that they're. I've seen the boards and they look really good. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Fantastic. So we're gonna finish our interview with a short Q&A session. So question and answer. Please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. Okay, very quick. The best surfboard that you ever ridden?
I borrowed it from a friend on the North Shore. It was probably 75, 76. And it was shaped in glass by Don Copeland. It was a lightning bolt. And it rode the way I thought it would ride.
Nice one. You're smiling, so it looks like it's a good memory. Your favorite all-time shaper?
Just because of the accomplishments, and he is my favorite shaper for sure. It's Jerry Lopez.
Okay. Personal question. Your favorite song, if you have one?
Wow. That changes day to day because I shape with headphones on and I do music all day long. Probably anything Roxy music or something like that.
Okay. Favorite surf spot?
Sunset Beach, Hawaii.
Favorite surfer of all time?
That's a tough one. I got a lot of favorite surfers. I mean, I that would just be really hard for me to. My favorite surfer at Sunset Beach in the 70s was probably Tom Stone. He surfed backside out there like nobody's business. My favorite surfer at the Pipeline was probably my best friend, Mike Armstrong. I thought he got a lot done in 7 years' time out there.
Okay. So I guess, there are like so many according to the era, the condition of surf, and it's okay. It's okay, definitely. And the last question is a little bit unusual. We ask everyone on the show. I would like to know your best relationship advice.
Wow. That's going to be because I'm not good at that. I seem to fail miserably at that. Honesty. That will probably get you a long ways, is try to be honest in a relationship.
Yeah. Of any kind, right? It can be like a loving relationship or between friends. If you're just honest, that's the way it works. I agree with you. Mr. Hinds, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. And I look forward to talk to you very soon.
It's been my pleasure, Alessandro.
See you. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye. Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!